Hi, one of my research paper named facial image noise classification and denoising using neural network has been accepted in Sustainable Engineering Innovation. So it is a DOAJ index journal, which means that it is not a predatory but rather a reputed journal. So in this video I am going to talk about the whole process from research to writing the paper from start to finish. So it is about 4 to 5 months. So it took me about 4 to 5 months from conducting the research to writing the paper, and it will get published in August or early August, or it will publish in early August or July. At the end of the maybe in these 3 days it will get published. So in this video I'm going to go through the whole process. So yes, where so from where did I get this idea? So if you know about this autoencoder, so I am learning about the autoencoder by myself, and I was watching few of the tutorials and videos online, and also checking the other published research papers. So let me go here. Autoencoder uses. So if you see the autoencoder uses, you will find that it is used for neural imprinting and compression, and also for denoising. Also autoencoder is very much popular in denoising. So this may not work. Autoencoder denoising. So let's go with that. I think a Keras block. I think the first time when I see it was in Keras block. So this one work. So first time when I look into the Keras block, I was quite amazed by seeing that the autoencoder can be used for denoising. So I think here you can see a Gaussian noise. I believe this is a Gaussian noise. So a Gaussian noise is added to each and every digits or each and every images which contains digit, and the task is to again remove all of these noises and regenerate the images to the denoise one, so the original one. So that was the first time when I see the denoising. So it was quite fascinating for me, but writing a paper for denoising an image doesn't make any sense, because most probably it has been written 10-20 years ago by the other researchers, and currently it is not that much of use among the researchers. So I just think about that, why don't I try doing it with other type of data sets, like facial data set. You can use that from. Besides that, also I have seen researchers use the tumor data sets, the brain image, and I don't know, maybe corona is, I don't think it's corona, but document, yes, removing noises from document also, it has been used there. So yeah, so I just use the facial FER 2013 facial emotion recognition data set and try to remove noises from here. So let me show you so this is the original data set, the original image. I put some noise into the data set and try to regenerate it, and you can clearly see that the regenerated image is blurry. So writing a paper not writing a paper but conducting a research of denoising using a image, so facial image noise, putting a lot of noise in there and regenerating that image again, and you at the end of the day the product is blurry. Doesn't make that much sense, does it? So I try to do more and more research regarding it, that how can I fix this issue. So there are one option which I have already used previously, was using GAN, but the GAN takes a lot of memory and using, so there is I think about 35,000 images here, and if I am going to put noise in all of those, let's say I use 3 type of noises. Let's go with the calculator. I have 35k images. In each images, if I am going to use 3 type of noises, let's say Gaussian noise, poison noise, and salt and pepper noise, then the total image is going to be 1,55,000. Yeah, I believe 5,000. So that many images will be there present, and in Kaggle system, if I am going to process that, then definitely it will be difficult to do so. So the GAN goes out of the option, because when I was trying to denoise the MIMNIS data set, then it was taking a lot of time. So doing analysis using the GAN will take a lot of time and doesn't make any sense. So I need another type of algorithm which will resolve that issue, and then at the period of time when I start to search about it, then I find a unit structure. So if you go here and just check the autoencoder architecture, so input image goes there, you have convolution, pooling, and dropout. So this is the convolutional neural network architecture, this is the encoding part, and we gain as much as is information from the image, make it more and more small, and then we get a latent space, means the very small fraction of the data, though most important part of a image we gain by passing it through the encoder, and again we pass it to the decoder where the image is regenerated in, and finally we have a generated image. So this is the autoencoder architecture. But one of the flaws of the architecture is, if you use too many of the block of the convolution block in the encoding layer, then lot of information is lost in the latent space, which result in formation of images which are blurry or which are not quite accurate. So yeah, here you can see the input image, when you add the noises, and at the end of the day we get a blurry image. But the autoencoder resolve that issue by adding the skip connection. So what skip connection does is, so you can read here, first it takes input and reduces the receipt. So you can read this statement is simply is that a certain part of the input is sent to the output. So here you can see that, if you can see that a certain part 128 goes here, and 128 of input and 128 of previous layer goes here, total sum added 256, and that goes on further processing. So this is the step of the unit. The name unit come from the U step, so that's not very much important, but the major thing is a certain part of the input is passed to the, a certain part of encoding layer is passed to the decoding layer, which helps to preserve some of the information which are lost during the process of encoding, and it will help during the period of decoding. So if you want to learn about this unit, I will put a link of the paper in the description. It is not that much hard to understand. And yeah, convolution maximally layer, latent, and this. So new is skip connection new is added, and which results to formation of images which are not blurry compared to the previous one body. And if you want to do more analysis, you can check the SSIM value and PSNR value and SSIM value. It is far more better than the autoencoder one. So let's see, for autoencoder it is 95 SSIM value, 0.95 or 95%, and for here is 97%. So there is significant increase in the SSIM and both PSNR value, and if this increase more towards 1, this means that the input image, the image where the noise, original image where the noise hasn't been added, if it compared to the noise which are not noise but the image which has been generated by the unit, then the structural similarity value, if it is quite similar, then it is near to 1. So here you can see 0.971 is very near to 1 compared to the 0.95 gain from the autoencoder. So let's go with the research paper. this is the abstract part where I have defined that what I have done. So if you want to learn how to write the abstract, then I'll put a link of a course down here which will provide you the whole idea of how to write a research paper and what are the flaws, not flaws, but most of the researcher whose paper get rejected in top quality journal like in UGC or DOSA, there are number of number of things which they forget or make, sometimes they forget or sometimes they make mistake which result in rejection of their paper or publication of their paper in low quality journals. So mostly the beginner researcher who do not have idea in where to publish are the target of this predatory journal, and their initial publication are in predatory one. So one of my paper, the first paper of mine also got into a predatory journal. I didn't know that it was predatory. So you must also know how to recognize the quality of journal. So if you go to that course, you will learn. If you have zero idea about research paper, it will give you a basic component of a research paper, that how research paper has been, how a research paper should be put in structure, and beside that also it will teach you how to generate ideas. So here I wrote about facial image recognition, image classification recognition. I have been this research field for last 2 years, so it will be easy for me to get ideas. But for a beginner researcher it is very much difficult. Many of them don't even know what are the types of research paper. The classic view is define the research paper in 6-7 types, but in a simple modern view I have defined it in 3 types, which will make it far more easy. And I have defined in such a way that the qualification of yours will simply, qualification and the domain of the expertise of your will divide the research paper into number of types, and some of the research paper you don't need to look at, and the other in which you can target, you can clearly see them. And now the process of writing and conducting and writing research paper become far more easy. So if you want to begin your research journey and if you want to make the process very much simple, then definitely check the course. It will save at least 3 to 4 months of your time. I have learned this by publishing my own research paper in international journal, about 5 research paper in top quality international journals, and helping 3 master's students in their thesis project. So definitely check that course. So let's move on to this video topic. So if you want to learn how to write the extra, definitely check that video, but I am going to give you a simple summary. So if you see this part, then it will talk about the context and what has been done previously, what are the issue, what are the problem. If you see this part, it will talk about the process, that what method I have used for data pre-processing, for writing, for model training and others. And if you see this part, it will talk about the result and how it's better than the previous one. So this is one is keyword. So the major part of your research paper is written here. This is the introduction part where I have introduced the image denoising topic, and this is literature review. If you want to learn how to write research review in far more better way, then yeah, I have described them in a video clearly, you can see them. And now this is system overview. So the part which I have discussed in previous video is about this part. So initially you pass a input image data set, it get pre-processed. So don't look this part, just look this part. I have only described this much part only. So initially you pass input image, it get pre-processed. So you have auto encoder and unit part. So I have, since the auto unit is far more better than the auto encoder, so I have only shown unit here, but I have explained that the compared to the auto encoder, unit is far more better. So this is data pre-processing for unit, and after that the data splitting is done. So in pre-processing part I have described down that So here you gain a pixel value for each of the column, because the data set of FY 2013 is in column wise. So the image size is 28 by 28, so all the images pixel value are written in block in tabular format. So you gain the pixel value, you store those value in the list, and after that you normalize the value, clip the value to 0.1, resave the. So this is basic image pre-processing step. After that you add the noise in the image, split the data. We are going to keep about 100 images for final testing, and finally we are going to perform all the earlier steps separately for all three noises. So in this paper I have used Gaussian, Poisson, salt and pepper. So this part, so only this part is there. So the if you use only, let's go here, and I don't think I need this. So if you use only this much part, then I think you can publish in IEEE paper. I have seen many papers who have just done this much part only and publish it in a conference paper. So yeah, what I think is better you do in other types of images. If you want to publish in a research conferences, then this much part is sufficient. But if you want to publish in good quality research journal, then you might have to use multiple models, multiple data set, and do far more analysis. But one of the problem in this approach, or one of the, I won't say failure but lack of the approach, is if you are going to train a unit model in three different type of noises, then you will have three different models training units. So you have Gaussian noise, you have Poisson noise, and you have salt and pepper noise. So you have three type of noises data. Just imagine that if you have, let's say, 10,000 images, and the 10,000 images are corrupt, or there is the three type of noises. So let's say certain numbers of the data are in Gaussian, Poisson, and certain are in salt and pepper noises. So your image is noised by these three type of noises. But if you see closely the data, then it is random. You don't know which image is Gaussian one, you don't know which image is Poisson one, and if you have 10,000 images, so what you need to do is you need to take the image and you need to manually find out that which type of image the noise is begin corrupt with, and you have to pass them to this model. Or if you don't know by which noise the model is begin corrupt with, then you have to pass in all of the three models and find out that which one produce the best image. One of the best way would be you build a classification model which will be able to classify that which type of noise the image is begin corrupt with. So this part is for CNN. So you pass the image in CNN, take the about 100 images for the final testing. You must do that in every machine learning task. If you are dealing with images, then you must keep aside a certain number of images for final testing, because if you are using the same data for validation and testing, then it doesn't make any sense. There will be a certain level of bias because the model has already seen the image. So here you do 80-20, and here CNN model, you train the CNN model with the three images, and here when a new image is passed, the model will give you which type of noise the image are begin corrupt with, and after that you will, one of these three model will be chosen and you will get a denoise image. So what you do is you made the whole process of image denoising, you automate the whole process of denoising from passing the image to generating from this part to this part. If you forget about this whole thing which is happening inside and put it in a black box, then no one will know that this much thing is begin happening inside the model or inside the system. just you pass one image and out you have a denoised image. So this is the complete automation. So most of the time when you are dealing with certain type of problem in computing, then there will be certain part which will be manual. So if you are able to make a complete 100% automated system, then it will be very much effective, and that's a great research. Actually, that's a great research which you can publish in good quality journals, and I was able to publish this paper in this sustainable journal. You can check this journal in the DOSA and you will find it is there. Here I talk about the deep learning models CNN and unit, so you can learn about them from the research paper. I will put a research paper for unit. You can find many resources about CNN online. So here is the basic component of convolutional components of the CNN. Since the CNN and unit are both made through the convolutional neural network, I have described what convolution, pooling, dropout, activation function. So those activation function which I have used in paper, I have only described them. So one is ReLU, other is shortmax and sigmoid, and besides that I have talked about the optimizers, and in this paper Adam optimizer is used. So now let's talk about the result. So let me describe this in more bits. So initially I have written a system overview here. So there is number of ways in which you can show this. So this part, introduction, contains introduction and literature review, you can put this thing together. I am just trying to summarize the thing. If you want to learn this more in a more in-depth manner, if you want to learn how to properly write literature review, then definitely check my course. It will save you a lot of time because I have divided this process in very simple way. And here is system overview. So I think it's better to write system overview. Some of the researchers don't do this, but I will highly suggest to do this because it will make it clear to the reader that what is going to happen or what has been done during the research process, and how your research process is how your research paper is structured. So in every part here you can see I have talked about this deep learning model. So this is the easy one, this is the theoretical part. After that, in the result section, so if you want to learn about result section and how the results has been structured for both unit and CNN, you can find this with this architecture. So initially I have talked about the data set for both, then I have talked about the pre-processing steps and the division of the data set, then I have talked about how the model operation has been done. After that I have talked about what has gained after the model has been trained and testing image has been passed. That's all. This is one part, other part, and then this one, and finally this one. So each part of the result is divided into 4 parts. There I will show you that result. So for CNN, initially I talk about how the noisy images are generated. After that I have talked about training and validation. I have talked about the evaluation of model. So now the testing of the model with the data set, and finally visualizing the output. So what have we gained? So in the classification, the actual class of the image is poison, and the model is able to predict that this is a image which belong to the which is correct by the Poisson noise. So you can clear salt and pepper and for Gaussian. And similarly for unit, initially I talk about generation of noise images and training and validation part. So in this part I have talked about the matrices also, because the unit is going to generate the noise free images, and I need to now compare the images, the original images and the generated images using PSNR MSC, because this MSC loss which I have used in the model is not that much great. It will give you a certain value, but SSIM is far more better. PSNR is not highly indicative of the perceived similarity of the image. So the perceived similarity of the image is indicated by SSIM. It is far more better, and the shortcoming of MSC is resolved by the SSIM. so you can use this. And finally here also evaluation of the trained model, and I have compared the result in PSNR and SSIM value for different values. So 0.07, 0.05, 0.7, 0.1. So this is the noise factor value. If I give only this much information, then I don't think it will be a complete analysis, because in different noise factor the model will perform very much poor. Let's say here is 0.96. if it's dropped down to 0. Let's say 80 or 0.75 in just increasing by 0.02, then it is a bad model. It must be able to maintain its efficiency. So 96, 95, 92. Yes, there is a decrease, but it is not a very much big decrease. But if it goes, let's say, beyond 0.5, then it's a disaster. The model is unable to recreate a good quality image. For here 0.98, 0.98, 0.98. So for poison it's amazing. For salt and pepper is also very much good. For Gaussian it is not up to that mark compared to poison and sulfur, but it does the job, because the SSIM values will be near to 0.1, and I believe 0.9 is very much close to 0.1. But if it drops to 0.5, then it's absolute disaster. You can call it the research which you have conducted is a very much poor quality research, and doesn't make any sense to publish a paper of that type of research. So you definitely should be able to you should compare your model performance in different hyperparameters value, and this will increase the value of your research, because the reviewer will see that this guy has, or this researcher has is doing a complete analysis. So there are number of ways in which you can increase the value of your research. So if you have done this part, but if you think that I am going to only show those part which are good, where you gain the great result, then it is not a complete analysis and you are not showing everything, and that might result in the rejection of your paper. There are about 3-4 major points which some of the research journal will tell you, some of them won't. So I have seen my research paper out of 4-5, or I think it was 6-7 of my research paper in about 10-15 journals, and only one of the journal actually tell me that these are the things which you must correct before moving towards the publication part or moving towards the review part. If you have never published a research paper, then you might not know this, but about 50 to 80% of the research paper get rejected before it passes to the review phase. Majority of the research paper get rejected in the editorial section. So, and many of those research papers which are rejected in editorial section don't even know that, those researchers will not even know why their research paper has been rejected. And for me, in my case, when I was publishing my research paper, the my first two research papers, so initial two research paper of mine, when I sent them for many journals, they get rejected straight for 3 months. And after that I found one journal which actually tell me that these are the parts in which you should improve, and after that when I start to improve my research paper, they start to get published in a few of these journals. So as a beginner researcher, you might not know why your research paper are being rejected, and many of them say that this research paper is not rigorous enough, and some of them might even say that we don't care too much about the result section, but the nobleness. So you find this word novel begin used in many of the Q1 journals, the Scopus Q1, the SCI journals, they will use this word novel. So many of the researchers will definitely get confused that okay fine, but how to make it novel? And also many times the research paper, the number one reason why many of the research which has been done in a good way and the paper is also good quality but it gets rejected is that you are sending your research paper in a journal which do not publish paper of that subject matter. So one of the paper which I have sent for pan pest detection gets declined by one of the Taylors and Frank journal, that it does not come in their subject matter. I have sent them for plant pest detection, and they were doing publishing paper about pest management, because the journal name is also Journal of Pest Management, but they were not publishing the mathematical model. So they were more towards the practical ones, the research which has been done by in field by the student in agriculture and others. So they were publishing those papers, but not the mathematical paper one. So you have to be very very much careful in which journal you are publishing the paper. And many of you, many of the beginner researchers might don't even know that in which journal I should publish my research paper. So if you go online and type to journals for free, or the journal in which you don't have to pay APC, article processing charge, these predatory journals have done their work very very much greatly. Most of the journal which you will see in the top in the Google, they have done a great SEO, search engine optimization, for their journal. So you will find them in top. And if you publish a paper in predatory journal, you won't get citation. Your paper will be just you can say that your paper just got stolen, and you cannot publish those paper again because they are online. When you send your paper to any publication, the first thing the publication will check is the plagiarism. If your paper publish plagiarism, let's say in a very top good quality journal, it is less than 5%. If it is an average type, then it will from 10 to 20%. But no research journal will publish your paper which will exceed the plagiarism level more than 20%. And if your paper has been published previously, then it will easily show more than 90%. So your paper is also gone, and now you are unable to publish that paper in other journal. So if you want to, and there is also case that if you have written, let's say if you have written something by your own, but the idea matches with the other person who has published that written text online, and if that match also, there are some of the cases where the researcher has done his job has done his job without copying others, but when his paper goes into plagiarism, is sort of use plagiarism because the ideas of his or the writing of his and the other matches, and at that part also your paper will get rejected. And the very very much I think I would say sad part is that you might be thrown out from the journals for, I have seen up to 5 years. So you will be thrown out from the journal for 5 years, and in worst case scenario they will send an email to the head of department. Alright, so you have to be very very much careful. If you are complete beginner, then I will definitely recommend to check the video, because I have seen in front of my eyes PhD student getting rejected. Some of them their fundings are being cut because they publish in predatory journal or due to the plagiarism issue. So let's move on to that. So here I have deployed the model, and there is a visualization of the output. And finally the conclusion. So the conclusion is not that very much hard. You just talk about what have you able to gain, and you talk about that what other your model from which beside the experiment or beside the domain in which you have done the provide the solution, where the model can also be used in other tasks also. So you can actually write about that. But beside that also, some of the journal will make it mandatory to write certain thing in conclusion. So if you don't write those things in conclusion, then your paper will get rejected. So if you want to learn about this that thing also, please check out the course. And beside that, references. So here I have 16 references. You will easily find papers who have 100 200 references. And the thing is that, let's say you write a reference for a journal, let's say IEEE, some of the journals in IEEE or conferences in IEEE, so it is going to be of some format, and let's say your paper get rejected. Now you have to again write the paper in a different way, and the reference style is going to be different. So for different journal, the reference style is going to be similar or very very much different. And every time if you have to do this, then it's going to take you a lot of time. 200, just think about that. Let's go with this. If you, let's say, have 200 citation, and every citation you write, you require 2 minutes. If you divide it by 60, then it is going to take about 6-7 hours to just write the citation. But there are different tools, and you can use those tools very much efficiently. There are some of them are paid, some of them are unpaid, but in the course which I have written, I have provided the unpaid one. So if using the unpaid resource, you can actually decrease the time by within 30 minutes or within 1 hour, but I would say 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes you will be able to write all of these references pretty easily. So this is the whole research paper. So I'm going to let's summarize this whole thing in a greater detail again. So initially you have the title. So if you don't know how to write a title, you haven't written a single page, then definitely check the video, you will learn that. So this part is provided by the journal itself, how you have to read it or how you have to present it. So the abstract part I have defined in 3 parts: context, after that you talk about the process and the result. If you want to learn more about it, then the course. And this part is the keyword, the introduction. You have 2 ways to writing introduction: either you put this board part all together, or you divide them. So in this paper I have divided them in the other paper. So not auto encoder, I believe it is this one. Okay, then I have also written that part. So here I have written both the introduction and the other part in the same topic. So this paper also mine has been published in Heritage and Sustainable Development. This is another DOSA journal. So this one is going to be published, the other one has already been published. So either you can write in 2 ways into it, but one of the thing is which many researchers have difficulties how to. So you have a research paper like the below one, I put a reference of one of the research paper, let's say, and I have to write the literature review of, I have to put that research paper in my literature review. So how do I present that that paper in such a way that every information of that research gets summarized in a very complete way? So if you don't know, then definitely check the course. And beside that, I have system overview. I have already defined that how I have break down the process. So from this structure system architecture also, you can find out that how I divide the remaining paper. So initially I have talked about the pre-processing part, after that I have talked about the training and the evaluation, and finally visualization. And also I have since I have made a flex application of the application, I have also mentioned that in the research paper. So yeah, regarding this, you have multiple ways of showing the model. So this is one of the ways. So if you are a beginner, I will highly suggest you to do this. But beside that also, you can put the image, but this one look more clean than putting a whole model. If you have a very much large model, then you can actually put that dollar sign and just only show a certain part only. This is the unit 1. Yeah, I've already described it. To draw this, I have used draw.io, but beside that you can also use the Google Docs. In Google Docs you can actually build the images, but be careful about that, because when you are going to export it to the docs file, it is going to make it very much unclear. There is going to be a lot of issue which you will face in Google Docs. So I highly encourage you or suggest you to use the Microsoft Office. In Linux also you can install Microsoft Office by using Wine and play with Linux. So definitely check that. And equation also. So if you are going to export the equation from Google Docs to Microsoft Word, then there are going to be a lot of issues. So I have faced a lot of issue in the previous publication. and I have to rewrite the whole page multiple times just to remove the issue. So yeah, where I talk about the theoretical part and the results and other parts. So if you are a complete novice and you will find it very much difficult to understand, I cannot talk about the 2 years of my experience in a single video. So if you want to learn more about that, and if you want to save 3-4 months of your time, at least 3-4 months of your time, then definitely check that course. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any confusion in any part, or you want to learn more about the research, then put it in the comment. I will make another video where I will describe another of my paper or another researcher paper. If you have problem, difficulty in understanding some concept or understanding a research paper, you can put the title of the research paper and I will make a video for you. Thank you for watching the video.